Now that we can move the ball at the click of a button, like that. That's not the most exciting, but it's the right idea. Maybe we can have the ball slide across the page rather than doing it in one hop. What we could do is move the ball a little bit at a time, lots of times. So what we should do then is have the ball move, change our move ball function. Instead of 300, let's turn that into a variable. Say n distance. And that variable hasn't been created yet. So we'll go back up here to the top of the script. No, actually, yeah. Up here to the top of the script, what we really should do is move this script into its own file right away. Var n distance. And let's set it to how far to move at one time. Say 5 pixels. So just 5 though. Okay. Let's save that. Make sure that we haven't broken it. Okay. I set it move to the left n distance, so that didn't make sense. Var in left set equal to, let's start at what is it, CSS starting it at 200. So it starts at 200. Excuse me. And we can have the JavaScript, the move ball function, set it to n left value. But each time we can add the distance to that. So n left, set that equal to n left plus n distance. So n left should get bigger by n distance each time. So the CSS puts it to 200, and then each time we click it, the move ball function adds another n distance, another 5 to it, and then redisplays it. Okay, so that's working. So now let's create a JavaScript file so this all becomes a little neater. So go File, New, and then File, Save As, and we'll use the same file name, except this time let's put it into a JavaScript folder in case we have lots of JavaScript files. You can have more than one JavaScript file for each web page. So let's call the folder JS, and inside it we can have moveball.js. And then instead of all this script, we should have one script tag that will link in the JavaScript file. So let's go to blueowlrock.com again, or any file that you know has a link to JavaScript. We go view page source, and the script files are often at the bottom. And as you can see, this one has several. So let's just copy one of them and use the name. Use it as a template. So script tag type of text/JavaScript, src equals source, and so we put it into JS folder, but this time lowercase, and then the same name we're using, .js. And I'm going to hide the existing script but not delete it. So another way to comment out under a block of code is /**, and then to end that is */. So you see now this is commented out, so it won't work. I'll save that, and in here we can test it. Not working. Make sure we've saved all our... Oh, I haven't copied the code over yet. So Control C, Control V, Control S, Alt Tab, and Control R. So that's working. So we can get rid of this out of our HTML file. And so this is all the code we've got for the web page, the HTML part of it at least. And I've got an extra end tag there. Check that it's still working, just so we can watch the ball go. Okay, awesome. So let's change our move ball function again, so that actually, yes, move ball moves it one at a time. So let's say we'll create another function to call move ball, and that will be start. Let's just, start ball. And we'll just have the button say go. It's not doing anything because we haven't created a start ball function yet. So let's go in here, create another function which will repeatedly call move ball. Okay, start ball. What we needed to do is call move ball. We had the button, so we could just type in move ball, but that would be no advantage. What we want it to do is repeatedly call move ball, and we can do that by something called an interval. So var, and we need a name for this. I'm going to go interval ball. So it's equal to, and this is the built-in function name, set interval, and it takes a couple of arguments. So the first argument will be the name of the function that it calls without its brackets. So we want it to call move ball. But note again that I'm leaving the brackets out because the brackets confuse things. And then the next is how many milliseconds each interval is, how long between it calls. Thousandth of a second. So let's say 500 thousandths of a second, which would be every half a second for starts. And so when you click go, it should call start ball, and then that will create an interval that should call move ball every half a second. So let's go. Okay, so that's working nicely, but so one issue is if I keep clicking it, it goes faster. Well, maybe that's not too bad. Let's make it go a little faster though. Like 10 times as fast. But, all right. And, all right, that looks pretty good, but I'd like to have a button that says stop. All right, so let's create another function right now to stop the ball. And what should we call it? How about stop ball? And to stop it, what we're going to do is use another built-in function called Clearinterval that deletes the interval we've got. So we can get rid of all this and just use the function clear interval, and it just takes the name of the interval. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to have brackets. I mean quotes. I don't think it is. Well, so let's go back to the HTML. Let's copy the button we've got, and let's use it to call stop ball. And maybe we could change the text that's written on the button as well. Okay, so now we've got two buttons, a go button and a stop button. Okay, that didn't work. So it's calling stop ball, and there's our stop ball function. Okay, I just remembered what's wrong, so this is a good important bit and a little bit of concept to cover. So what happens is when we created this function here, we defined it in here. We used the var keyword to create an object, a variable. And when you create a variable inside of a function, it's called local, a local function. So it is only accessible, you can only get to it from within this function. This name of this variable does not exist exist except inside of the start ball function because it's declared inside the start ball function. So what we could do is declare the whole thing outside here. Let's save that, and because it's not inside the function anymore, it will start as soon as we reload the page. But let's do that. And then stop. Okay, it still didn't work. Oh, maybe then the quotes wasn't the problem, so let's delete them again. Save that. Hit refresh, and then when we click stop, okay, that feels better. And we'd have to refresh it. Stop. So we're getting there, but all right. So when a function is, or a variable is declared outside of any functions, as this one is, it's not inside a function, then it's what's called a global variable. So up here, we give the variable a name. In start ball, we set it to a value. It needs a semicolon here. And then in here, we destroy it. Let's see if that works. So go and stop. Go and stop. There's still probably another issue, so if I hit refresh and I hit go, then I hit go again, it goes faster, and if I hit stop, let's do that again, only I can hit stop as many times as I want. It slows down on the first button only. And that's what's happening there is each time we hit start ball, we create an interval. But what happens is you can't name each one the same thing. So what JavaScript does is it creates an array of intervals. So then it'll be a whole bunch of them with slightly different names. So we won't get into arrays right now, but there's a whole list of them. So what we want to do then is say if we've already got an interval, we don't want another one. So I think the easiest way is to say create a Boolean variable to say whether or not we have a interval that's moving the ball. So let's create another variable. And this one will be a Boolean, which is either true or false, but for naming sake, I like to start the Boolean variables with the word is, and in this case it is moving. Would it make sense? Is it moving or isn't it, right? So we will call this if it's not moving already. So let's set that equal to false. Or it's a Boolean variable, which means it's either true or false and nothing else. So if is moving, and okay, this is our first if statement, so some stuff to explain here too. If is moving, and then we use a double equal sign as the test for equality. Oh, notice there's two of them. And if it is moving is false, meaning if is moving is false means it's not moving, then we will call this function to create the interval to start it moving. And after that, we will say is moving is set equal to true. So, right, The single equal sign is the assignment operator. It's not asking if it's true, it's setting it to true. It's making it so that is moving is set equal to true. In the if, inside the brackets here is the test, and it's the double equal sign is a test for equality. If is moving is equal to false, then we do whatever is inside the code block. So if, and if what this comes out to true. So we figure out is moving, is it equal to false? Well, it's set equal to false right here. So the first time through, yes, it is false, and it should call these. And then I'm going to say, what if it's true though? Now if I said if is moving is equal to true right here, we'd have a problem because it's being set to true and it would always end up calling this code. What we'll use is else. So this is an if-else statement. And only one of these code blocks will be called. Let's send no, we don't need an else. We're not going to do anything if it's not. So we'll leave it like this. It will only create this interval if it's not moving. Okay? And if we stop the ball, it will clear the ball. And so here we will need to say is moving is set equal to false. Right? So stop ball will always try to clear the interval, even if there isn't one. It won't hurt to clear it anyway, and then it will say false. So it doesn't matter if we push the stop ball button multiple times, it will just keep clearing or calling this, and it'll clear it if it exists. If it won't, it will clear it if it exists, if interval ball exists, and if it doesn't, it'll just ignore it. Okay. Makes sense? Let's try it. So go, and we click it multiple times, and it stop. Because after it started the first time, it hit is moving, it's got set to true. So the next time we clicked it, it goes if is moving is equal to false. Well, it's not false because we set it to true. So go, stop, 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 go, 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 stop, stop, stop. Okay, so we've cleared up that problem, and I hope this is fairly clear. There's one other thing I'm just going to do and make this a little bit simpler. I don't make everything simpler for the sake of education, but quite often you will see, instead of a bool, you will see this. And that's exclamation mark at the beginning is pronounced not. So now it says if not is moving. And that means the same thing as if it is moving is equal to false. It's not is moving. If it is moving, not. Okay. So that's pronounced not, and it's just checking if it's false. And if we wanted to test if it was true, we would just have if is moving works. So we'll get used to that more. So this is Boolean test inside the if statement. If, and then a pair of brackets, and then inside the brackets is a test. And the exclamation point means not, so if this is not moving, then do this. And so that works. All right. So where are we? So go, stop. Can we have it go the other way? We need another button to go the other direction. Let's try that. So let's go to our HTML file. Let's swap the buttons. Well, create another one. And I've been using go west and go east, as if you were looking at a map that it was north towards the top, like most maps are. So west is toward the left and east is toward the right. So right now start ball goes towards the east, so we'll leave that. Actually, let's change the name of it. West ball. No, sorry, that's east. And go west should be west ball. And okay. So now we've got 3 buttons. Go west, which should mean it'll go toward the left. Stop, and go east, which would mean it'll go toward the right. And let's change this. Start ball should go toward the east. And we will need another function. And we'll call that west ball. And there's different ways to do this, but calling the interval inside these functions is not the easiest by far. So let's get rid of all this and get rid of all this, and let's even get rid of this. What we will do is create the interval at the beginning and let it run forever, and change the direction and the speed in a different way. So actually I want to copy that code, so not that code. I'll have to remember it. Let's put it in here. Var and interval ball is it equal to set interval, the name of the function to call, and let's call stop ball. No. Move ball is what we call. But okay. None of these things do anything now. So how can we adjust them? Remember, in the move ball, we've got the n left value and the n distance value. So that's how much it changes each time. So if we put in stop ball, we put n distance is equal to 0, then each time move ball calls, it will keep putting it to the same place. So let's try that. Let's refresh that and stop. Okay, so if we go east ball, then n distance should be a value greater than 0, and n distance is equal to 5. We'll change this later in a second. Let's just make sure this works. And this is n distance So that equal to -5. So let's see if this works. Okay, that works lovely. But and what I'm thinking is having this set here and here doesn't make any sense. What we need is another variable, and let's change this. Oh, we have to keep n distance as a global variable because we're using it all over the place. So we'll have to keep that up here. Let's add another variable above it called n speed. And set that equal to, well, let's start it with 0. And let's say n distance now is, well, equal to n speed. And in here, n speed and here it should be n speed times -1. Now we can change how fast things change here. I think that should work a little. Well, it should work the same, but okay. No. Oh, I said n speed equals 0. So we have n speed set to 5, n distance, let's just set that up to n speed. Okay, oh, we've got an extra interval declaration, so that can't be helping. So when it's going east, n distance should be n speed, so the distance will be 5. West ball is n distance equals n speed times -1, so n distance should end up being -5. And if the ball is stopped, the n distance is 0. So in move ball, which keeps getting called, n left is equal to n left plus n distance. So it'll keep getting bigger or smaller or stay where it is. And then we set where it is. So hope that works. Stop. Cool. Go west. Go east. And stop. Okay, it's all looking good. Pretty strange. So now we've got all this working. But what about the ball? Can we get it to bounce? Well, we kind of cheat. And that way it's very easy. All we're going to do is, if you've been following previous courses or looking at the website, we already learned how to make a GIF image of a bouncing ball. So look on the web page and look through the links to the provided links to see where that is. And let's use it now. So all we have to do is go back to the HTML file and find where that image is. Not the JavaScript image. Here. This is the image, and this is the address and name of the image we're using, which is called circle.png. So I'm going to go File, Save As, just to find out where the new one is. In Inside Pics, there's one called Bounce. And that I know that's bounce.gif. And it's uppercase B. So inside pics, there is a bounce.gif. And we'll save that and refresh it. So that's how easy you turn it into a bouncing ball. You just have to find a GIF of a bouncing ball, or make one, as we did in a previous tutorial. Okay, but when we stop, it'd be nice if the ball were to stop bouncing. Okay. So what we want to do is swap out this image at the appropriate time. And we'll do that in JavaScript. So when we stop the ball, we want the other image, and we need the element of the image, but that is this element. So let's go elm ball dot, and as I was saying earlier, this is not a style element. This is not a CSS thing. This is just a HTML source thing. So elmball.src, the source, and then we'll say equal to, and it's going to look a lot like this. So that gives us the, if it's in the same folder, that's the same. And I'll go back from here, File, Save As, and in here, in the pics folder, there's a ball down. I've already picked this out. Ball down dot, and I believe that's a PNG. I'll just click it. Properties. Easier just to test. But anyway, PNG file. Okay. So let's copy this, because we're going to want it to bounce. Was going east or west. It's only when it's stopped that you want it to be the ball down .png. So we can use the same. We can use a PNG or a GIF animation as the same image without changing anything else. Just swap them out and reverse. Refresh. Stop. Go west. Go east. Or stop. So that's how easy it is. Just take a little fiddling to make sure that the image works well. A little bit of graphic art skills. Or just use the one provided in the links. Okay, so this is looking pretty nice. What else can we do? Well, I think maybe we change these buttons to images. That's fairly simple if we've got the images easily available. We have our ball going east, stopping, going west, and it doesn't hurt to click any of the buttons multiple times. So looking good. Let's see if we can switch from just buttons to image looking buttons. A play button. So let's back to the HTML file, and we just need to swap out the button icon with an image icon. So we'll click on img src equals and then the value in quotes, and then we'll go File, Save As, and see if we can find an image that'll work. Well, this one might work. So cancel that. It was in the same folder now. And that was play.png, I believe. Let's test it and see. There it is. So, can we make it clickable? Let's try just using onClick equals west ball. No, that's one going east. So let's put it down here at the end. And if we put the, sorry, not quite there. About right there. And then copy the onClick attribute that calls the function. Save that and hit stop and go. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's do that 3 times so that we also have the pause and return. Copy that one and paste it. There, and copy that one and paste it there. So that looks pretty nice. And what are the other images called? Back.ping and pause.ping. And going back, stop. Going forward, stop. Okay, we don't need those earlier ones then. And then maybe we'll do some CSS to scale them down a bit, among other things. Awesome. So we could we don't have any IDs or classes. So let's start by giving each one a class. So we can use the same code for changing the scale of all three. So let's just say the class is the play buttons. Copy that. And this is starting to get a little long. And into the CSS, we created a class called playButton. So to find a class, you click on the dot. And let's just check to see if it works by using it. Height. Set equal to, how about, sorry, I'm starting to put JavaScript in there. Height, colon, 50 px, semicolon. Save that and refresh. And that didn't seem to work. Did I misspell my play buttons? Not play button. And I believe the name is case sensitive for, and that's the selector. Remember, that's a code block. That's a statement. Okay. Okay, that's looking better. And how about centering it? I think to center these, we probably have to put them into a container to hold all three, and then center that. So let's try see if we can get that to work. So let's create a div and give that an ID of, we can call it div buttons. And down here, the end div, so that you can see that all three of these images are nested inside the div buttons div. Save that. And remember that was an ID, so the selector will start with the pound sign. And it was div buttons. And a pair of curly braces to create the code block. And let's see if we can set the left value. And will that work? Did you remember that before you can use left or top, you have to set the position? And let's go absolute again. Save that. Okay, so we got it to move over. But one thing is we could do it percentage-wise, might work better. So instead of 100 pixels, what if it looked like was about 40%? That looks right there. But if we widen the page, actually not too bad most of the time. What happens if we give the div a width value? So if it's, the left was 40 and the right was also 40, that'd be a total of 80, which leaves us 20% in the middle. And see, what do we get there? Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. You don't usually get that small anyway, so that'll keep it forced into the center just about at any size. So that's cool. Let's go with that then. Now, what can we do next? Let's make sure that the ball actually, let's define a size for now so that it doesn't matter if we stretch this. It'll be simpler. So rather than saying using percentages, let's use the actual pixel values. Let's start by creating a div container for the entire thing. So let's create another div to put everything inside of. I'm using reverse indentation again. And give it a name. Save that. And some CSS value. And that was an ID. Let's go div bounce. And a pair of curly braces. And let's say the width could be 500 pixels. And so that we can see it, let's give it a background color. And let's make it a lightish gray. So that didn't work. Did I fail to save it? Okay, that's not the problem. Did I get this wrong? Let's just say gray. No, no problem there. What else is this wrong? It's an ID value. Oh, I know what's wrong. We have to give it a height or it doesn't know how big it is. and let's say 300 pixels. And that's why we test things. Okay, so if we confine our ball to within there, make it a little bigger, I think, and let's go back to maybe even a little bit later than that. If you're curious about why I'm using these letters, you can look up Google hexadecimal colors. Div buttons. That's the total buttons. Play buttons. Each one is 50 pixels. So 3 of them would be 150 pixels. So so if the total area for them is 500 pixels minus 150 divided by 2. I'm cheating. Okay. 500 minus 150 is 350, and divide that by 2. So let's make the left side 175 pixels. And not wide enough. There might be a little border around it. $160, so that's 500 minus 160. Equal to 340, and divide by 2 is 170. And try that. Okay. If I hit it just at the right time, it'll bounce off the walls. But hopefully we can use JavaScript code to bounce off the walls instead. So into the JavaScript, and so when it's going east, we will use an if statement to test if it's gotten to, the left side has gotten to 0, then we'll have it go the other way. So now, if it's going west, I should say, and we'll try that. If, and we're talking the n left value is less than 0, then what will we do? Let's create a code block there. And let's then call east ball, make it go the other way. Let's see if we can get that to work. Call a function, use the name, including the brackets, followed by a semicolon. Save that, and I'm going to do a hard refresh because sometimes browsers cache the JavaScript. They don't expect the JavaScript to change very often. So I'm going to, instead of Control R, I'm going to go Control Shift R. And all right, so here we're running west ball, and that didn't work. I'll make sure I've saved this. And we might have to do some more debugging. Okay. One thing is we have to make sure that West ball is being called, or not something strange. So let's put an alert in there. Actually, I'm hesitant to do that because right there, because it will be called repeatedly every 50 milliseconds. So let's put it in there so it just happens when n left is less than 0. And then we will immediately set west n left. We'll assign it the value of 200 again, so it won't call another alert immediately. Save that and refresh that. So we're moving west. And that did not call west ball. Or it didn't. Let's make sure that our JavaScript is running. Okay. So am I making some logic error? The worst kind of error? How does this work? Okay, it's move ball down here, sets the n left value. And if we're traveling west, we end up subtracting, we're setting the n left value, and that sets the elm ball.style.left. Let's try moving this from there into move ball. And I'm going to say in move ball instead. And if n left becomes less than 200, okay, that worked. So why doesn't that work in west ball? Actually, maybe it's okay right there. So let's have it inside move ball. If n left is less than 0, then n left, let's just call east ball. And refresh this. And if it becomes less than 0, okay, so we've got our bounce. And we can, okay, let's stop that. And we set the width of our div using CSS. And it's 500 pixels. So let's give ourselves a variable. Put it right there under the left value. We'll call it var n max left. Sorry. No, that's n max. Yeah, n max left. The most the left value can be equal to 500. And then if n left this time is greater than n max left, let's call west ball. It'll start it going the other way. Okay, that sort of worked. And, okay, watch this. It's pretty much the width of the ball too far. So, rather than max left, which is here, it's when the left side of the ball gets there that it comes back. So we're measuring from the left side of the div to the left side of the ball, which means that the ball has gone right through before it bounces back. Anyway, let's try this minus, and yeah, we don't have the ball width. Let's create a variable called ball width. And if we make a change later on how wide the ball is, we won't have to go through all the code looking for what it means. We will just change it at the top. Let's say create a new variable, var in new left is equal to n max left minus n ball width, and use that for our test. And refresh that. Okay. So it seemed to get a little further than we wanted it to. We're adding end distance, which is speed 5 pixels, so it's something 5 pixels over before it bounces back. So let's say should we subtract or add? Let's put this in brackets. And add the end speed to it and see if it gets worse or better. N ball width times 1.5. Oh, I'm missing in misspelled in ball width. Had I done that before? Okay, so that looks good, although I don't know why. Okay, so we're ping-ponging back and forth now. What for the last stage, let's see if we can ask it to ping-pong or rather keep going the same direction. And then it'll loop, basically. So the options will be ping pong or loop. And how will we ask for that option? We will add a checkbox. So let's go to our HTML and add a checkbox. So inside div bounce, yeah, I don't think we want it inside the button div, but we do want it inside the gray rectangle. So let's put it above all these. Let's start over here. So to make a checkbox, we will do input type equals check box. Let's save that and see what it looks like. Okay, there it is, but it's pretty small. And it's the only checkbox we've got. Well, we should give it an ID value. ID equals check ping pong. And so it starts out not checked. Let's just add a little bit of code here. And I believe that will, yes. So it defaults to being on. So let's now, well, what's that about? We should give it some text. So right after the input, we will say ping pong question mark. Okay, that's looking pretty good, except I'd like the checkbox to be a little bit bigger. So using our ID value, and I'll copy it. And that is an ID value, so I'll use the pound sign. I'll paste in the name and a code block. And let's give it a width and height property. How big should it be? Lots of things are 50, but I don't know. Let's try that. Too big. Let's go 25. Okay, so that all seems to be working. Our ping pong, of course, isn't doing anything yet. We need JavaScript for that. So let's go to the JavaScript, and how do we find out what the ping pong value is, the checkbox value? So what we want is to get the element, right? We've done that with a ball. So we'll copy that statement. And let's call it Elm Ping Pong. And you remember the ID value? That was in the check ping pong. And let's just make sure that worked. So we'll say Elm Ping Pong is, and that's in quotes. And then there it is again, but this time it's not in quotes, so it's a variable name. So it'll get swapped out with its value. And refresh that. And it is an input element. So that's good. We're in the HTML. That's what we created, an input element, and its type is checkbox. So that worked. So now we've got the element. What are we going to do with it? We also want a variable. And unlike these, it's going to be a Boolean variable. Oh, there's a Boolean variable. Let's create another one. Var is ping pong is equal to elm ping pong, and then dot, and I'm thinking it might be something like value or checked. Let's try checked. And I should have kept that alert because I'm going to have to retype most of it. So let's see what this is ping pong value is when it's starting out, because I do believe it starts out as true. It says so right here. So hopefully it'll be true. Ping pong is true. Okay, so I believe that's working. And just in case I need that again, I'll hide it rather than deleting it. So what else do we need? If it's true, if is ping pong. So if we're going left and we get to less than 0, so we're going left, we get to less than 0, this calls east ball. But we want that to happen if is ping pong is true, and we can just do is ping pong. And that gives us true or false depending on ping pong's value. So if is ping pong is true, then we do the east ball because that's what's happening now. Otherwise, and that means else, we want to change the n left value. If it's less than 0, let's change it to n new left. Anyway, n left should become n new left, but n new left hasn't been figured out until down here, so let's just move that up to up here. So let's try that. So refresh. And we're going to go that way. If it's ping pong, that worked. Let's turn that off and then try again. Still, did I remember to refresh it? And I think the problem is that I'm setting the value of is ping pong here, but this only gets run once. This happens at the beginning. So we want to redo this. So I'll copy that much of it. I don't want to if I use the var keyword, I'd create another variable with the same name inside the function. So I don't want to do that. I'm just going to copy this where it's assigned. And I'll put it in here. Right, so now it's going to check again. When this happens, it's going to check what the value of ping pong now, and then run that based on it. So Control S, Control R, and okay, ping ponging correctly. And if it's not ping ponging, okay, that's what we're after. Just about there then. And basically the same idea, but going the other direction. So again, we're going to check the value of ping pong. And if is ping pong. If it's ping pong, we want to call West ball. Yes? So that's the way it was running earlier. So if it is ping ponging, right, we could switch to West ball, and else. So if it's not ping ponging, we will say, let's run it, change it to 0. So if it's gone all the way, right. Oh, if it's, no, that's correct. I think that's good. Let's try that. So it's going, bouncing along, and it's supposed to ping pong. All right, and if it's not set to ping pong, all right, I think that's it. That's all we got. So if you want to, you could create a couple more of these and see if you can make it go faster. Or faster in the other direction, or whatever you like. So, you know, lots of JavaScript animation skills now, so enjoy. And if you want to learn more, remember to check out my webpage, blueowlrock.com. We got lots and lots of stuff like this. So hang in there. Carry on, and I'll catch you later.